Jnanakosha, Puranas.
सर्गच्च प्रतिसर्गच्च वंशो मन्वन्तराणि च वंशानुचरितं चैव पुराणं पञ्चलक्षणम्.
Bhagavat Purana, Lord Krishna's life. Hearing the tales of royal dynasties from Shukadev, King Parikshit requested Guru Var, "You have just narrated the surprising tale of Suryavansh and Chandravansh dynasties. Now I wish to hear the tales of Lord Krishna's life in detail. It was because of God's grace that my ancestors could successfully win the Mahabharata. I too had experienced Lord's grace while I was an unborn child, and Ashwatthama had triggered Brahmastra to destroy me. It was the Lord Himself who saved me from the heat of Brahmastra with His wheel. O sage, therefore kindly narrate the tale of Krishna's life, who is the soul of every living being. I do not feel thirsty or hungry while hearing the pious tale of God's life from you. Pleased by the pure devotion of Parikshit, for God, Sukadev says, when the atrocities of evil demons increased on earth beyond a certain limit, the perplexed earth reached to Brahma in the guise of a cow and vented her sorrows. Brahma took her and Lord Shiva to Lord Vishnu and prayed him through Purusha Sukta. Lord heard their prayers and said, I know about the sufferings of poor earth. Very soon I will take incarnation in Yaduvansh to alleviate her burden. All the gods should take birth in Yadukul to assist me during my human incarnation, and to serve my beloved Radha. All the Apsaras should appear as the women folk of Yadu community. Brahma dictated the gods and said that even Yogamaya, personification of illusions of Lord Vishnu, would take a partial incarnation to assist the Lord in his place. Thus consoling the earth, Brahma returned to his abode. Marriage of Vasudev and Devaki. Sursena's son Vasudev was married to Devaki, the daughter of Devak. After the marriage ceremony, Ugrasena's son and Devaki's cousin Kansa was driving the chariot of newly wedded couple. On the way, a celestial voice proclaimed, O fool Kansa, the eighth son of your beloved sister, whose chariot you are driving so affectionately, shall be the cause of your death. Hearing the voice, Kansa drew out his sword to kill Devaki. But Vasudev prayed to him politely, Prince Kansa, you are the descendant of Bhoj dynasty. You are a brave man. It does not fit you bravery that you are yourself ready to kill your sister. She is a woman and has just got married. She has not done any harm to you. She deserves pity. If you fear her children, I promise that I will give all her children to you. Thus assured by truth abiding Vasudev's words, Kansa dropped the idea of killing Devaki. As per his promise, Vasudev gave his first newborn child to Kansa. Pleased by Vasudev's obedience to truth, Kansa said, your eighth son will be my enemy, so I will kill only your eighth son. Take the child back. At the same time, signing in Lord's praise, Devarashi Narada appeared there and said, O Kansa, in view of rising atrocities of demon, Lord Narayana himself will take birth in Yaduvansh. Besides him, all the cowboys and all others who belong to Yadav clan are none other than the gods in human guise. The gods are making massive preparations to exterminate evil kings, and as a lotus has only 8 petals and no one can mark out its 8 petals. Similarly, Devaki will have 8 children, and no one would be able to find out who is the 8th. Saying this, Devarishi Narada disappeared. Kansa got firm belief that all the Yaduvanshis were gods and that Lord Vishnu himself would take birth as Vasudeva and Devaki's son to kill him. He therefore put Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison. Since then, Kansa killed the children one by one soon after their birth. Vishesh Narayana himself appeared as the 7th son. While he was still unborn, Lord Vishnu, through his Yogamaya personified illusion, transferred the embryo in Rohini's womb. Lord dictated Yogamaya that she herself should take birth from Yashoda, the wife of Nand, in Gokul. He also blessed her that in future people would worship her as Durga, Chandika, Bhadrakali, Narayani, Vaishnavi. When the 7th fetus was transferred, Kansa got worried how was it destroyed. His fears and melancholy increased since then. A fear gripped him that his death was very near now. Arrival of God in unborn baby. Kansa had known that during the battle between the gods and demons, he was the demon Kalanemi, and he was killed by Lord Vishnu. So, fearing Lord Vishnu rallying with the Yaduvanshis, Kansa cultivated a high degree of hostility towards them. He captured even his father Ugrasen and put him in the prison. Now the reign of the kingdom was entirely in his hand. Kamsa was himself very strong and also had the assistant of his father-in-law Jarasandha. Formidable demons like Pralab, Baka, Chanur, Trivarta, Agashur, Mushteg, Arishtha, Dvidip, Potana, Kashi and Dhenuk were his courtiers. As a result of Kansa's atrocities and mass exodus of Yaduvanshis from Mathura followed. These Yaduvanshis left Mathura and settled in regions like Kuru, Panchar. Still, some of them accepted to serve Kansa, but only superficially. When all pervasive Lord saw that Yaduvanshis were being tortured without reason, he transferred his glory in Vasudeva. Through Vasudeva, Devaki received that brilliant part of the Lord. On the other hand, Kansa also came to know about Devaki's 8th issue. Since then, his hostility surged unprecedentedly, and he began to wait for the birth of Devaki's 8th son very anxiously. All it means to say that Kansa's mind reflected on God every moment, day in and day out. Birth of Lord Krishna. The long-awaited day also arrived at last. It was the 8th day in the waning darker phase of the lunar month of Bhadrapada, corresponding to August-September. Rohini, the brightest star, was rising while dense clouds had gathered in the sky. Before actual arrival, Lord manifested himself before Vasudeva and Devaki. They felt as if a full moon had risen in the east. Vasudeva saw that an extraordinary, marvelous baby boy was standing before them. His eyes were as soft as lotus. He had 4 arms and held a conch, mace, wheel and lotus. He bore Kaustubha money in the neck and wore yellow clothes. Valuable ornaments adorned all parts of his body. Thus, seeing God himself arrived as his son, Vasudeva was overwhelmed. Devaki too was overjoyed but feared Kansa first. Then she joyfully prayed to God. God said then, during Swayambhu Manvantara, both of you had worshipped me with a desire of son. Vasudeva was a Prajapati Sutapa, while you were his wife Prishni. You had worshipped me with pure hearts. Pleased by your penance, I had asked you to seek a boon. So you had sought a son like me in virtue. I had arrived then as your son, Prishnigarbha. In the next birth you were Kashyapa and Aditi, and I was Upendra. Now in the third birth also I have arrived as your son. Saying this, the Lord transformed himself into an ordinary baby. From the inspiration of God, Vasudeva wished to move the baby out of the prison. Instantaneously, all the locks of the jail opened automatically and the guards fell asleep. Carrying the baby in a winnower, Vasudeva set out for Gokul across the river Yamuna. It was raining heavily, so Sheshanag followed them, shading the baby with his foot. Vasudeva entered the river Yamuna. Yamuna too felt overjoyed that her most beloved Lord has come to her, and she began to rise in order to touch his feet. Dazzling his feet behind Vasudeva, God let Yamuna touch them. Touching the feet, the swelling river receded at once and gave Vasudeva a safe passage. Crossing the river, Vasudeva reached Gokul. There he entered the home of Nand and kept the baby beside Yashoda, and took her new-born baby girl and brought her to the prison. As soon as Vasudeva kept the baby girl in Devaki's lap, the gates locked up again and the guards awakened. The baby, who was actually Yogamaya, personification of illusion, began to cry. The guards at once ran to inform Kansa about the birth. Kansa came running and snatched the baby from Devaki and proceeded to throw her on the stone. But before he could throw her, the baby escaped from his hand and assumed Ashtabhuji, 8-armed Durga appearance in the sky, and reprimanded him. "O fool, why are you trying to kill me? When you can't even harm me, the one who will kill you has already appeared. Now stop killing the innocent children." Kansa stood stunned by the talks and appearance of the goddess. Goddess Bhagavati disappeared and became omnipresent. She is now venerable with different names in different locations. After the disappearance of goddess, Kansa felt remorse. He at once fell at the feet of his sister Devaki and brother-in-law Vasudeva and began to beg their pardon. Thereafter, Kansa released both of them. In the morning, Kansa held a discussion with his ministers. The ministers, who were formidable demons themselves, assured Kamsa that they would kill all the babies born within 10 days and destroy the Brahmins, cows, gods, ascetics, and all those who could pose potential danger to him. Sukadev says, "O Parikshit, the demons were Rajoguni, having royal virtues, and Tamoguni, virtues of darkness, and hence were unable to differentiate good from evils. Their extermination was imminent. That was why they cultivated hostility towards saints and saintly people. O king, those who disregard saintly people lose their life, wealth, reputation, religion, and everything." Festivities in Gokul over Lord's birth. Devaki's 7th baby was transferred before birth into the womb of Rohini. The baby was born as Baladevji. At his birth, Brahmins blessed Nand, but laughingly Nand said, "O holy Brahmins, this baby is not mine. It is born to my friend's wife." Brahman said then, "Okay, Baba, we will return only when your wife bears a child." The Brahmins thereafter organized grand worships. By their blessings, Yashoda conceived. It was Wednesday, the 8th day in the darker phase of the lunar month, Bhadrapada, when Yashoda said to her sister-in-law Sunanda, "Sister, kindly wake me up when the baby takes birth." Sunanda laughed at that. It was in fact the influence of Yogamaya. When Yogamaya took birth, all the people around her were fast asleep and continued to sleep until Vasudeva came there and replaced the baby girl with baby boy. Soon after Vasudeva left, Yashoda awakened from slumber and saw an extremely beautiful baby boy beside her. Nand was meditating then in the cowshed. He was informed at once. His heart too filled with supernatural joy. He took his bath and donned new clothes. Then he summoned the Brahmins and got necessary rituals performed, served the gods and his ancestors, and donated cows, clothes, ornaments, and cereals to the Brahmins. As Nand was the chief of Braj region, so all the people decided to celebrate baby's birth. All the houses, streets, and lanes were cleaned and sprinkled with scented waters. All the gateways were embellished with flags, pylons, and festoons. All the villagers began to gather in and around Nand's home. Ladies folk also felt overjoyed by the news of the birth of Yashoda's son. Even the cows, oxen, and calves also were adorned beautifully. Brahma, Narada, Sanakadi were all having the sights of Lord from heaven. Even Lakshmi appeared in Gokul, illuminating all the azimuths. Gopis, ladies folk, decorated their palms with henna, anointed themselves with ubatan, a paste composed of gram flour and many herbs, supposed to enhance beauty, and took bath. Then they adorned themselves from tip to toes and set out for Nand's home with various gifts. At Nand's home, they sprinkled the boy with water containing turmeric and oil, sang auspicious songs loudly. Thus, when Lord appeared in Braj, grand celebration was organized in his welcome. Auspicious music was played. The men folk celebrated the joy, spraying one another with milk, curd, butter. Nand presented the people generously with clothes, ornaments, and cows. Prisoners, ascetics, and beggars were given alms. At the request of Nand, Rohini herself welcomed the women folk. Since the arrival of Lord, prosperity too came to stay in Braj. Salvation of Putana. Sukadev says, Parikshit, after many days entrusting other Gopals with the onus of guarding Gokul, Nand went to Mathura to pay annual taxes in Kan's court. Vasudev too learnt about his arrival and went to see him. Nand felt overjoyed to see Vasudev and embraced him affectionately. Vasudev asked Nand, "Your age is declining now. It is very fortunate now that you have also got a son. My son Balaram and wife Rohini are staying with you. He would be regarding you as his parents." Nand said, "The evil Kansa killed many of your children. He did not even spare your daughter. No doubt happiness and sorrow are bound to one's fate." Vasudev said, "Brother, now your duties here are over. You should not stay here for long, because I fear some disturbances in Gokul in your absence." Hearing this, Nand at once set out for Gokul. In the way, he reflected over the words of Vasudev and prayed God, "May God everything will be in Gokul." There in Gokul, however, a curious incident took place. After his discussion with evil ministers, Kansa had sent a cruel ogress Putana to kill all the newly born babies in his kingdom. In the guise of an extremely pretty woman, Putana entered Gokul. She hypnotized the menfolk with her sweet smile and flittering glances. She searched newborn babies here and there and entered Nand's home eventually. Baby Lord Krishna was sleeping in the cradle. He had known about her arrival, but posed as if he were asleep. Putana is a form of non-knowledge with an alluring outward appearance. Lord Krishna was only 6 days old then. Putana's breasts were filled with poison. Such as someone lifts a sleeping snake, mistaking it for a rope. Similarly, Putana lifted the baby who proved her death. Putana took the baby to secluded place and began to breastfeed him. Lord prayed to Lord Shiva, who came to stay in his throat and drank all the poison from the milk. Thereafter, the Lord began to suck Putana's life. Perplexed, Putana began to cry loudly and breathed nervously. As her death approached, she regained her real ogress appearance. All the men and women were frightened when they saw the huge, formidable body of Putana. But when they saw Krishna playing nearby, their fear gone, and with joy they lifted the baby and soothed him. Meanwhile, Nand and his fellow Gopas too arrived from Mathura. Putana's body testified the truth of Vasudev's words. Gopas cut Putana's body into many pieces and burnt them outside Gokul. When her body was burning, a sweet smell of agar, a kind of scented wood used in incense making, spread all around. Because Lord himself had fed on her milk, so all her sins were destroyed. Lord regarded her as his mother and saved her.